Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lourdes. I'm 22 years old and I'm just sharing my life and hobbies on my YouTube channel. So this is a bit of an impromptu intro because I actually recorded this video thinking that maybe it would be a part of a vlog, but the clip ended up being a lot longer than I expected it to. So I thought, why not try just making this a sit down video? So if you are someone that is looking to get into reading or getting back into reading, I hope that you enjoy this video and you can find it useful for finding your first or next read. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So I have been thinking that it would be fun to do something kind of like giving book recommendations, but in particular, I wanted to give book recommendations for people who aren't really readers, people who are interested in getting into reading but don't know where to start because they haven't read in a long time or they've never really been readers, but they're interested in stories and going to new worlds and all of the joys that reading can bring you. And so I thought it would be fun to make a little list of recommendations for people, different genres, different authors, different books that people can check out if maybe there's someone who's like this and is looking to start reading. That being said, I'm definitely not a book expert. I personally mainly read romance and fantasy, contemporary fiction, a little historical fiction. So I definitely specialize in those genres, and even then, everything that I'm recommending is my personal opinion. That is the best that I can give you. Besides those genres that I mentioned, I will also be giving some recommendations for things like thrillers and horrors based on book recs that my friends have given me, whose opinions I very much trust. So yeah, let's get right into it. Now, I have always been a reader, but I didn't always read traditionally published books. I'd say between elementary, middle school to college, I didn't read much. I still read maybe things on Wattpad when I was younger, and when I got to college, there was a Barnes & Noble's at my school, and one day I went in, I bought a book, I read it, and of course I enjoyed it because I've always enjoyed reading. The following year, I decided to set a goal to read a book a month, read 12 books, and ever since then, I have read more and more. I still make a goal every year for the amount of books I want to read. Like I said, I very much read romance and fantasy. That's what I've always been drawn to. For romance book recommendations, I think if you are a new reader, one of the best places to start would be an Emily Henry book. Even if you're not a reader, you've probably heard her name. Her books are so amazing. They are very easy reads. They're digestible. The stories feel realistic, they feel relatable. My personal recommendations would be People We Meet on Vacation or Book Lovers. Her books are always so good. Her most popular are definitely People We Meet on Vacation and Beach Read. I do feel like those are such a good place to start reading wise. People We Meet on Vacation is a dual timeline story, so you are following Alex and Poppy, who are best friends, and every year they take a trip together in the summer until one year they didn't, and you don't really know why. Something happened that stopped them going on trips, but one day Poppy decides to tell Alex to go on a trip one last time to see if they can fix things. You get a flashback to their past trips, and you kind of go seeing how things went wrong, what their issues were, how they actually feel about each other. And I also personally think dual timelines are super engaging because you're finding out what's happening in real time, but you're also getting snippets and putting the stories together, and that just makes it so fun. As for Book Lovers, this is actually my favorite story of hers. You are following Nora, who is a big time New York publisher, and she goes with her sister to visit a small town called Sunshine Falls, and she runs into Charlie, who is a book editor. Wait, sorry. Nora is a literary agent and Charlie is a book editor. That's what it is. Nora runs into Charlie in this small town and she's like, what are you doing here? Like, you're from New York. And you kind of see how things go unfolding between them. There's things that are revealed. It's really fun because big city girl in a small town. There's also things involving her family. She's on the trip with her sister. I really liked those elements being brought in, and it's just a really fun read. I loved the dynamic between them. It's a little bit of like enemies to lovers, not full enemies, but you know, there's like dislike between them, but definitely one of my favorite reads. 100% would recommend this starting out. Like I said, any Emily Henry book, honestly, if it sounds like the plot will be fun for you, pick it up, read it, and see what you think. Another romance recommendation that I have definitely not as popular, but another one of my favorite reads. I can't believe more people have not read this book. It is called Alive at Night by Emily Reese. The story follows Julian and Juniper as they are forced to work together, and Julian is actually Juniper's best friend's brother, and they have known each other since childhood, and they have also hated each other since childhood. And so you are following this couple, which is so many tropes in one, because they are best friends, brother, childhood enemies, forced proximity. This is again another great read. I loved the relationship between Julian and Juniper. Another book that just really kept me hooked. I think all of the dynamics at play make it interesting and fun, and you're just like excited to see how it plays out, because there's a lot at stake because they're working together. He is her best friend's brother. They've known each other since childhood. Their families all know each other. Definitely recommend reading the description and seeing if you're interested in starting that one. Next, moving on to a little contemporary fiction. I actually have this one. This is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Probably another book that you've heard of. I got this book because it was popular, and I went into it only knowing that Evelyn Hugo had 7 husbands. I would highly recommend that if you know nothing about it, only read the back of the book and start reading. This book has so many twists and turns. You are following Evelyn Hugo throughout her whole life, and the way that the story is told is actually because Monique Grant is a journalist, and she is asked to write a piece about Evelyn Hugo's whole life. And so Evelyn sits down and tells Monique everything about her life, and you are kind of finding out things about Evelyn's life and her 7 husbands, which is a mystery to the media and to the public, something that everyone wants to know so badly about, like what went on with her, just one of those celebrities that you're so intrigued by but know nothing about. That is who Evelyn Hugo is, and there are so many twists and turns in this book. It is so hard to put down. There are also media pieces within the book. Let me try and find one. If you can see, this is literally before the first chapter. It's an article about how Evelyn Hugo is putting off all her gowns to auction. I feel like it's good if you are getting back into books because it will keep you hooked. It is like reading a movie, and honestly, I fully expect them to turn this into a movie. I don't know how they can't, because the story is so insane and so good. There's also so much friendship and the evolution of relationships through a person's life and what naturally happens, how you grow with people, how you grow apart from people, how much your life can change in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Such an amazing story. I cannot recommend this enough. Next up, for contemporary fiction, we have a book that has a mixed bag of reviews, but personally for me is one of my all-time favorite reads, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Oh my god, honestly, like I could tear up just thinking about this book. Follows Addie LaRue, who in 1714 France is desperate to get out of a marriage, and she makes a deal with a devil-like spirit that she can live forever and live freely however she wants, but every time that she leaves someone's sight, they immediately forget everything about her. And so you follow her throughout 300 years of her life. You are following her in modern day mixed with a lot of flashbacks of her past, and you see how she lives her whole life being forgotten and how she eventually comes across someone who actually remembers her and how that plays out. And I just don't want to say too much because one of the beauties of this book is reading it and seeing all of the twists and turns and finding out all of the secrets. For me, it was such a reminder of the people that you have in your life and how much value there is in having them. She had everything and she was forgotten, and how that could destroy her life and just all of that. Read this book. Again, similar to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, like this will keep you hooked. I think we should get into the genre that I would say I'm so very well versed in. Fantasy. Definitely all of these are romantasy, so you know, getting into my recommendations if you are a new reader or maybe you're just new to fantasy, don't know where to start. I have a few different kinds of books that you can start with. And also I should say, I think you should read all of these books / series that I'm about to recommend, but I will recommend them in a specific order. Okay, so the first book recommendation I have is if you're starting out and you don't know if you want to commit to a series, but you want to try out fantasy. I feel like this is a good midway point. This is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is another one of my all-time favorite books. The reason I say this is a good in-between point between a realistic fiction book and deep fantasy is because there are a lot of elements of the real world, to the point where Misery actually lives in the human world for a long time, but it's just a human world where vampires and werewolves exist, and they have like their own governments that are all involved with the human governments. And so Misery is actually the daughter of a powerful vampire councilman, and one day the vampires need to make an alliance with the weres, and what more can be done than her being committed to marrying Lo, who is the leader of the werewolves. And so you kind of follow them through this story that has a lot of politics, honestly, that are super interesting to witness, and sort of like forced proximity, kind of enemies to lovers. I feel like it's a good start, especially if you enjoy vampires and werewolves. Very fun, such a good read. I love this book. Next up, we are getting into fantasy series. I will give you all the details so that you can know what you are or aren't committing to. So first up, I have the Folk of the Air series, or the Cruel Prince series. This is an amazing series to start out with because it is a trilogy. There are some spin-offs, but you can just read the trilogy and be fine with it. That's what I did. I do think this book reads a bit more YA without being young and cringy, and so I think it's easier to read. I do think this is a good series to start with. Out of the series that I am recommending, I don't want to say if you're a new reader to start with this one first, but I do think that if you read this one after the other two that I'm gonna recommend, I don't know if it would feel as good, but everyone has different tastes, so maybe it will be better for you than the other two that I will recommend, but definitely a good series to start with. Next up, I have my golden child, my sweet baby perfection series, Fourth Wing. Why do I think Fourth Wing is a good fantasy book for someone who is starting out reading or starting out reading fantasy? The politics and the world of the book, not to say that they're grounded in reality, but sort of the government systems and the systems that these characters are living in are very understandable because one, they're in a college, and two, they're in militaries. They go to a war college, but college and military, they're systems that we all pretty much understand. You know, most people have been in school, so we can understand how a school works, and a military, it's understandable how the system would work. And so that's why I think they're a bit easier to read and understand. The magic system isn't complicated at all. It's that if you bond with a dragon, you get magic. That's pretty much it. There's a few other details, but it's very self-explanatory. I feel like it's a complex enough fantasy without having elements that would be confusing to someone who is new to fantasy. That being said, I told you that you would know everything you're getting into, and this series is not complete. This is a 5-book series, and there are 3 books out. The 3rd book came out at the start of this year, January 2025. The next book won't be out for like a year or 2, probably, like hopefully a year and a half. That is what you need to know, is that you will finish the first 3 books and you will be devastated, unless maybe like you read the first book, you take your time. If you're anything like me, then you can get into theories online and like really engage with the community, and it's super fun. Fourth Wing has a really great community. This is just such an amazing series, and I cannot recommend it enough. And to tell you a little bit about this book, you are following Violet Sorrengail as she enters Basgate War College. She's kind of being made to enter against her will by her mother, who is the general of the military, and she enters and encounters Xaden, who kind of hates her guts because his mother is responsible for killing his father. Xaden's father was the leader of a rebellion. I don't want to say too much as to not spoil, but that is the gist of it. Xaden hates her guts, but then he becomes her wing leader, which is kind of like the leader of the class that she's in, and she is a first year, he is a 3rd year, and you kind of just see how everything unfolds. You know, will she survive in this brutal college? I think if you liked movies/books like Hunger Games, Divergent, you could very much like this. Hunger Games element because in this college there's a lot of like killing, there's people fighting, trying to kill each other, like alliances are made, alliances are broken. And Divergent because Violet just reminds me a lot of Triss, the main character from there, but yeah. Now, I did say I would give some thriller recommendations. These all come from my friends, so I can't vouch for them personally, but I do trust their opinions, and they are thriller readers, so if they're recommending these, I think these are definitely the best books to start with. The first one I got recommended is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This story takes place in 1975 and follows the disappearance of a teenager at a camp. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I've also heard One by One by Ruth Ware is a super good read. It's about a group of 8 co-workers that go and stay in a cabin in the woods, and they get snowed in. Things start to unfold, and maybe not all of them will survive by the end. Self-explanatory why this book would hook you. I've also been highly recommended author Lisa Jewell. I've heard that any of her books are 5 out of 5 reads, keep you hooked, super interesting. But yeah, anyways, I hope you found these recommendations interesting. If you decide that you want to read any of these and give them a try, absolutely let me know in the comments, and if you enjoy them, I can give you more recommendations based on what you liked. And if you also want to check out my Goodreads, it's in the description. I write reviews of every single book that I read, so feel free to go and look on my thoughts on certain books and pick them up if my review makes them sound more interesting. Hi again, so impromptu outro because I thought that this would be part of a vlog and it's not. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful and you are deciding that you want to pick up one of these books, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any book recommendations based on what I like, or if you want any more book recommendations. If you read one of these books and enjoy them, I would love to hear all about it. But yeah, I hope you will consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed, and maybe tuning in for the next one. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.